Do you remember when you were younger and somebody would be playing around or something and they would put you in a room or like in a closet or something that you didn't want to be in, and then they would hold the door, and most of the time it was somebody that was bigger than you, so your little body, you're just sitting there trying to push the door open, trying to get out. And at a certain point you just, well, I'm not going to get this door open from you. So you just give up. And then when you go back to the door, you might go ahead and get all your strength together and be like, okay, okay, I'm ready now. Yeah, this door's over with. Like they're done. So then you push all that against the door, all your effort, everything into the door, and there's nobody there. So the door just flings open and you look crazy. So now you feel crazy, like, well, what's really going on here? This little interaction to me is like the same thing that happens when you grow up in traumatizing or toxic environments and you are denied a sense of self. Every little piece of sense of self you try to have, that door is just heavily pushed on. It's being shut against you. No, 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 we're not doing any of that. So eventually you give up on trying to develop a sense of self. You don't have anybody that wants to open a door. You don't have anybody that wants to show you what's on the other side. You're like, well, okay. Now I'll just sit here until I know I can just open the door again, or until I feel like there's not anybody that's going to stop me from developing that sense of self. So, losing that motivation for a sense of self means that you're in this room. You're sitting in this room and you're conformed to the environments that you've been put into. That's what happened. It's just what happened. And I don't think the door is always being held intentionally. I believe that some people, most people, avoid a lot of truths because they don't want to deal with the pain that comes with them. So when it comes to having kids, when it comes to having families, the deeper that you get into your truths, you seep into other truths, especially the parent-child relationship. Like that child, when you're figuring yourself out, when you're looking into yourself, you have no other option but to see your parents' trauma, because that's what you knew. Those are the systems that you learned. That was your room. And I think that when you develop a sense of self and you really gain confidence and that feeling of, okay, I'm starting to know who I am more, and I'm starting to understand that everything that went on in my life wasn't right. Like a lot of people did a lot of things that weren't right. You get all your energy together and you're like, yeah, I'm out this room. Like I'm finna bust out this room. You boom, bust the door open. There's nobody there. There's nothing blocking the door. The fight that you were looking for, the battle that you were in and that you thought that you were about to face, was just some scared person using the leverage they had over you at that time. That's why when you finally get that door open and you looking at all them people sitting in the living room like, oh, so everything's just, y'all are just cool now? This is normal? We're not going to talk about, you just got to walk out the house. Because you can get out that house. People do not want to leave that house because they feel somebody behind that door. And they still think somebody's behind that door. So they think they can't leave that house. What I'm saying is that being truthfully self aware, it's knowing that that room is not the biggest thing. That house is not the biggest thing. There's so much more out there. There's so many different houses. There's so many different cities, countries. There's so many other things. Don't limit your self awareness to the things that you have come into contact with, because maybe you need to put yourself out a little further. Maybe you continuing to deny your sense of self is preventing you from taking advantage of opportunities that will enhance the growth. At any point, you can mentally get up and walk out of that room, walk out of that house. And the reason why some people don't leave the room, why some people don't leave the house, is because you would have to understand your truths, the truths of everything, everything that's happened, everything that people around you have done, everything that you've done, everything you've seen, heard, felt. You would have to acknowledge all of that in order to understand that your experience, it's such it's such a small portion of life if you make it that. If your experience is something that will haunt you forever, then it's going to haunt you forever. Well, yeah, you already decided that. But if you choose that you want to feel better, you want to heal, you want to be fully self aware, all you have to do is live in all of your truths, all of your feelings, everything, even if it's ugly. Just feel it, acknowledge it, understand what it's from. Why do I feel like that? Where else have I felt like that? And it can definitely be scary to focus on unbiased self awareness. Um, because growing up and not paying attention to you for so long, not really acknowledging you, it's like, oh my gosh, who am I? Who are they? Like who is she? Who is he? Who am I? How am I supposed to find this out? But you just sit. Pay attention to yourself. See what you like. See what piques your interest. What things have you always wanted to learn about? Mm, Self-awareness has to go beyond taking accountability for everything. It has to extend opposite to whatever your coping mechanisms were growing up. You got to be in both. You got to understand the full spectrum of it so that you can understand yourself and where you sit within all of it.